So in the morning today, I woke up with the thought of two friends that I had in my early high school years and also in the later part of my life after high school. And one was a lady and the other one was a gentleman. The gentleman was about 2 years older than me. The lady was about 3-4 years younger than me. And it made me remember them because they both passed away through accidents. They both had accidents, both of them. The lady used to believe religion was for old people, and stuff. But later on, she had experiences that completely turned her life almost upside down. Looked like she recovered, and then before you know it, the accident happened. As for the gentleman, he had a traumatic experience, abusive parent, mother was very abusive, and we used to wonder, doesn't this stuff affect him? But later on, as I grew in faith, I was like, oh yeah, it did affect him, And I remember one time around 2019 when I went to try and find him, and they told me, no, he has moved, he's no longer in that particular area. He now stayed by himself, but they didn't tell me where he was. So I just okay, just left. And then unfortunately, he passed away 2022. He had an accident as well. Now, both these people, what I realized about both of them, it's not so much their life. And I wanted to make this video because you might find that you have this. You have people like this in your life, that you want to correct their life, but the issue is the conversation. You'll see what I'm talking about with these particular two friends. These were my friends. I want to be very clear. These are not just people, I read the story. No, these are people I knew. And so it goes there. So why am I saying it's not necessarily that you want to correct their life or correct their lifestyle? And why is it mostly the conversation? It's because something I saw even in my own personal life. You see, when I was into the whole party lifestyle, story of a different day, my mom questioned what I believed. My mom, if you've heard that story, if you know, you know. My mom questioned what I believed. God will hold you accountable, type of thing, because what you believe. And so that caused me to think about, so there is a God who particularly will deal with me, particularly. So it became very personal, So when the question about what I believed or the conversations I was involved in came, it caused me to change how I lived. And so sometimes we get straight at correcting lifestyle, and it's the conversation. If you can influence the conversation, if you can speak into the conversation, you might, we don't know, but you might be able to win them over. That's what happened to me. I don't know. I think it works that way. So I want to talk first about the lady. The lady she was a very bubbly person. I was happy. I met her around 2011 or so, around that period. And amongst all the friends I had that time, she's the one person I never had an argument with. She was always a happy person. She was always laughing, always. And when I met her initially, I never thought I'd be close to her because of how bubbly. I was always a quiet person. But over time, I think maybe over a period of 1.5 years, we had become tight. We had become tight that we were now planning celebration of crossovers and New Year crossovers and all those kind of things, hey, there's this happening there and all those type of stuff. So over the years, a period of a year and a half, we had grown close. But I never thought, because she was just way too bubbly, always happy, and she was always talking about, there's something in Guatemala, there's something in Soweto, there's something Kloof. Like, she was always attending things. Like, even if you scroll her Facebook page, that's all you saw on her Facebook page, a person that was there having fun, right? But when we came to conversation, our conversation about God was just, oh yeah, God is good. Oh, but God had other plans. I was planning to do this, but God, that's it. Like, our conversation never went past that. Like, even if I would bring a subject matter of belief, it was always, what do you believe? Like, then ask me. Because by that period, I'd already been born again and stuff, and I was always talking about God here and there. And so they would always ask, so you believe this? You believe this? You believe this as well, And so, but never did they ever talk. Never did she ever talk about what she believed. And this is why I'm saying, in the conversation and altering that conversation towards personal God and our Father who art in heaven type of God. Our Father who art in heaven. That's personal. But she never went there. She used to think religion was for old people. But, over the couple of years then, I think I became very distant to that place. And so I didn't see them so often. Around 2018-19, she started having spiritual experiences. So from a party life, is a person who was not talking about God or Holy Spirit or any conversation around that, goes from parties and now is being said to have an ancestral spirit. And boom, it changed everything. She twassad, and the whole thing, she didn't become a sangoma like full-fledged, but she twassad under that particular spirit and continued on with trying to work and whatnot. And then 2024, then she had an accident. And in the whole accident, she was the only person that passed. She never came back. So after that I got me thinking about that thing, to say, we never spoke about God. I was very young in faith, but even as young in faith as I was, like, I had friends that I always spoke to about God. But conversation with her and thinking, it was never about that. But then it kind of brought up the gentleman. Like I stated earlier on, he had a very abusive mother, to be specific. I don't know if she just hated his father or he reminded her of his father. She would slap the dude, like, just out of nowhere. Like, if she was just doing a simple correction, like if she told him, I told you to wash these dishes, and then he's like, yeah, I'm gonna do it like in just a few minutes, he might get a slap from that. Like, she was just generally just not a nice person, like, at all. Zero nice personality out of that lady. So I would wonder, does this thing not affect him? I would wonder that by the time. Because I came from a normal household, usually it's just, that doesn't happen. And so I knew that, I think that would affect me. I knew that might affect me if that was happening. But because I came from a normal household, I knew that this would affect me. But for him, he kind of chalked it up, and then he just smiled and just laughed it away. But guess what? Over the years, I noticed he grew a distaste of joy. Like he just became dry. He was into art, and so he would draw like very dark things, like skulls and demons and all those kind of things. Like he was into anime and all that, but he would draw very dark things. You can never just draw like a simple thing. He would draw like very, very dark things. So it did affect him. And then at one point, I think I visited that area, and I went, hey, I remembered, hey, this guy stays in that area. So I got off so that I can go jump off and see if he's there, and then catch a taxi, and then we'd go back to Joburg. I went, he was there, and in 20-minute conversation, he barely said 5 things. Like he was just not talking. I don't mean like he said 5 lines, okay? I mean, he barely said anything past 5 lines. Like you just, oh yeah, is it? Oh, is it? Oh no, over there. No, here. You know, like those kind of things. So I was talking to this lady. This person heard me. I was like, hey, Ricky, da 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 da. So while I'm talking to this lady, he hears me that I'm still there and we're having this fun conversation. So he comes, and I guess maybe at that point he realized he was a bit, distant. You could say that. Not necessarily rude, but just distant. He wasn't in the conversation. So he comes, he brushes it off. Oh, he laughs with us and ta-ta-ta-ta. And I'm like, all right, cool. It's nice seeing you guys. Let me go, and I'll see you later. Okay, cool. And that was the last time I saw him. This is the last time I saw him. The next time I would go back there, they would say, no, he's no longer here. He doesn't stay here anymore. Then the second time I went back, where does he stay? No, he's not here. I'm like, yeah, where does he stay? But no, he's not here. So I just kind of completely forgot about it until 2022 when I heard that he had an accident and he didn't recover. It seemed like it was okay. He was okay at first, but then after, he just never recovered. So it took me back to that. Like, what kind of conversations did he have? Because, and why do I mean about this? Why am I talking about the conversation specifically? Is that the conversations, right, that you're having with them might actually showcase a conversation that they actually continue with others. So which means it's not just that it's just with you that they just don't talk about God, but in general they just don't. The lady, like I described, was always talking about fun, parties, what. All of a sudden, when she gets introduced to the Spirit, what, she's having dreams, she's now has a calling, what do you think happens? That's the only context of spirituality she knows. And so if you start to notice that the devil has an effort to only make people focus on this life, be intentional, be a little bit more intentional about getting that conversation to that, By then I was way too young to understand it, but I kind of like, with the lady I never saw it because she was just never like, she was always in a happy mood, always in a very good frame mind of place in thought-wise. She wasn't from an abusive home. She was from a very good, well-groomed home and everything, and never lacking. And so she just never spoke about spiritual things. So the one time when I heard that she was now involved and she's now talking about Ubungoma, she's now initiated. And I remember going to that area and actually seeing her, seeing the cousin. I'm like, hey, where is? They said, oh yeah, she's gone to so and so area. Oh, I'm like, I saw that. She's like, yeah, he's going through a lot. So the life, party, all of that stuff, it's a distraction from the real conversations And now, when she now finally interacted with the spirit, she had no conversation to refer back to with God or anything like that. So the only framework she had was just this. And so a lot of times we tend to correct lifestyle. We tend to correct lifestyle. Oh, you drink, you do this, you womanize, you think. We tend to call out lifestyle, but it's the conversations that influence those things. Once the conversations are changed, the lifestyle follows. That's what happened with me. It's what I've seen with many people. So the conversation changes how a person frames their life, the places they find themselves, and all those kind of things. Conversation alters what kind of conversation, what kind of life the person is actually living. She's a generally nice person that talks about everyday life. But she talks about everyday life in a way that's very fun, very relatable, amazing. You will just dismiss all of life. But what's lacking is this thing here. They have a generally blank perspective of relationship with God. And by that you know, except this person made like a final moment decision, like for the lady, unless maybe for the last year of her life, because she got really into that stuff. And then after that, she just kind of like disappeared from all conversations. Like you never see her anywhere, you know. Sometimes I remember even texting, hey, we don't see you anymore. And she's like, hey, you know, life. You know? And one point I think I messaged her and she said, oh no, you know, I started doing training and so forth. And so they need me. It's so. Because she became very impossible to see and stuff. Conversation. Like if you note that a conversation with this individual or with the person just never results into what do you believe? Who do you think God is? Like, that's a point which tells you that's likely a conversation they are having with everyone else. And except they made a final life decision, like at that moment, or maybe just before that, because that can happen. You just don't know, you know. You see people just saying people went to hell, and you just don't know. Maybe a person made a life moment's decision or something like that. But if they went like the way I knew them, they'd make it. They didn't make it, and it's a sad thing to say. It is a sad thing to say. But if they went into the afterlife, both of them died of accidents. If they both went into the afterlife with that, they didn't make it. Those are young people my age. The other one thought religion was for older people. The other one thought, you know, kind of like just really drummed into the pain and everything, and that just consumed all of his life. And I'm not saying it's not painful. It is. But there's that relationship we go back to answer to. Thought that was an interesting one to talk about. Man's life down here is very short. Our life here is like this. And then off we go. Seek to be effective at that. It's Ricky. See you later.